Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my regular Wednesday night live stream. And today I have a very important guest. I think someone who is actually pivotal to the Australian conversation about abortion. So today we have Clubb, who is a convicted criminal and a pro-life activist. Hi, Clubb. Thank you so much for coming on my channel today.
Hi, dear. Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you. I feel like we are sisters in the same fight, except that you've taken it to a level that I could have never imagined. How does that make you feel, knowing that you're technically a criminal under the laws of this country?
Well, I know that the law is an unjust law, so from that point of view, it doesn't really bother me. It's good to have a conviction for doing the right thing.
Exactly. I would agree with you. And actually, if I read a quote of yours, you've stated, it is a privilege for me to have a conviction for doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's right. I told Martin that.
Can you stand by that statement?
Absolutely. We've got to stand up. Just because there's a law, it doesn't mean that it's a just law. And the fathers of the church and great people like Martin Luther King have told us that an unjust law is no law at all. So I don't believe that we need to be going around breaking the laws for no reason. And I think civil disobedience is something to be considered very carefully. But we probably have to get used to being arrested, Christians, these days. I think it's coming that more and more people are going to be in trouble with the law, not even for intentionally breaking it, but just for going about their normal lawful business.
This was going to be my next question. In fact, I actually was curious about that. It does seem like we have reached a place in our society where doing the right thing will lead us to being jailed, saying the wrong thing, stating the wrong pronoun, can lead us to being jailed.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy place.
It is, and it's probably going to get worse. Would you say so?
Absolutely. I do think it's going to get worse because there's a momentum now, isn't there? And we've got a better prime minister than Bill Shorten would have been. That's true, but the momentum is still there. All this crazy activism on the other side is still there, and people being so poorly educated, people who don't even know the difference between right and wrong and men and women, that's still going on all around us. So that's where we're going to see more and more of these crazy lawsuits. No sign of abortion law being repealed in Australia either. So we're going to be seeing more and more exclusion zones coming in, I'm afraid, around Australia.
So let's talk about the laws. Every single state except for South Australia and
Western Australia
don't have these exclusion laws zones, but every other state does. But it's only a matter of time before it's a nationwide zone.
Yeah. South Australia and Western Australia have them before their law reform commissions at the moment. So that's just really just a cosmetic thing. You can pretty much tell that they want to bring them in. They've decided to have this kind of conversation about them, but whenever something goes to law reform commissions, it's invariably that law will change.
Would you say that we have lost the ability to discern what is right and what is wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very, very subjective. It's really just about how someone feels in the moment. And if their feelings are hurt, that's become the criteria for judging whether or not something's right or wrong.
This is very true. So how 150 meters distance you're allowed to be within, not you personally, anyone who is a pro-life activist is allowed to be within exactly 150 meters distance. So how effective can one be at 150 meters distance?
Well, it's almost impossible to reach a woman that's going to be going for an abortion now, because at that distance you can't really tell who's going in for an abortion. She may be able to take another route as well, another street or another walking route. So the helpers in Melbourne are still effective in educating the public. They're right outside Jolimont Station now. So they have actually better exposure in terms of numbers of public who see their signs every day. So that's just a way that God's taking care of the situation to make some good come of it. But unfortunately, we can't reach the women anymore. And that's really heartbreaking.
Is there a way that one can reach these women, but it doesn't have to be like that? Couldn't you just stand outside a train station? Couldn't you stand at a bus stop and just be like, hey, by the way, you have a baby inside of you that, look, babies are their own DNA. They're a completely separate entity. They're not a parasite. They're not a clump of cells. They're a little human being. And if you rid yourself of that little human being, you are ridding the world of probably a fantastic human being. Can it not be done in other areas?
You can do that anywhere, but how would you know a woman's contemplating abortion?
You wouldn't. But then that's where fate, I suppose, and I don't know, God would step in, because if these exclusion zones are being placed, it's obviously going to happen all around the country now. So that the avenues need to be sought after, I suppose, to try and reach the Australian public.
Yeah, we have been thinking about a few things, and something that's been on my mind.
Do skywriting.
No, not the skywriting. The blimps. Yeah, we kind of ruled out the blimps actually. No, something that's really been on my mind since the High Court decision really is the fact that a lot of us are active on social media. A lot of us talk to our families and friends, and so people know that we're pro-life. But do all those people know that they can come to us if they're pregnant, or if their daughter's pregnant, or if their next door neighbor's pregnant? Do they all know that we're open to having a conversation with them, and we don't judge them, and that we really want to help them, and that we'll do everything we can to get them?
Why don't you go pamphleting? Like in people's neighborhood, like I could do it in my neighborhood, and so you could allocate one person to every neighborhood of Melbourne. I don't know, like there are other avenues perhaps.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it, and you can have really good face-to-face conversations with strangers that way. Another thing that I really want to do is to equip every priest and pastor to be able to have all the information that he needs, and he can speak to his congregation every single week. He doesn't have to talk about abortion every week, but he's got them there every week. So that's an ideal way of hitting multiple people in a relatively simple way. The priest doesn't really have to go out of his way to contact those 1,000 people each week, you know?
Yeah.
When it's door to door, you have to do the hard yards, and it's a lot of manpower. I think it's place for it, but I think that priests and pastors are best placed because they've got people coming to listen to them every week. And if any priest or pastor thinks that women in his congregation are not aborting, he needs to go and get a red pill, because if they're contracepting, they're aborting. And that's what it boils down to. Yeah.
Abortion is the ultimate narcissism as well. It's saying, I'm not ready for this. I want to have fun. I want to travel. I want to do this and I want to do that. So I'm going to just have you murdered. It's the ultimate form of narcissism.
Look, it can be, but we have to be very realistic about the situation that a lot of women find themselves in.
Okay, it's true. But I'm referring to women who think specifically what I just stated. Obviously, not everyone is like that. Obviously, sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, and it is a valid point to be kind and to be empathetic towards the woman. But I've seen plenty of videos online of women who use it as what's the word? Contraceptive. Abortion is just contraceptive because it's just, it's a parasite. It's not really a baby. It's it's not a giraffe. I don't know what they think it is, but But I see your point, and I think I'm a little bit more hardline on the subject than you are. I am very black and white on it. Not completely black and white. I understand that there's grey. I am pretty hardline on it.
Well, there's no doubt that it's killing a child, and there's no doubt that it's never, ever necessary. And I don't believe in any exclusions that should apply to abortion, not rape or incest or disability or anything.
Well, they're pro-life. Statement in itself is an absolute term. You cannot.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I know women who've had abortions, and I've read about the after effects. And some of the women that you might see that seem really hard-hearted and bitter, on the inside they are really suffering and they're really caving. And this is just a big front that they put on. Because imagine if you had done this, you can never ever change it. That baby is gone, and you can never ever change it. And I think that realization can make women appear very hard-hearted.
Yes.
Because otherwise they have to face it. And so it can be, and we do this in our own lives with the little mistakes that we make. It can be easier to just be very proud and put a guard up and deny our part in whatever mistake we made. And how much bigger is the mistake when it's abortion, and how much more harder you're going to have to fall when you realize what you've done and you can never go back and change it. So yeah, I know there's a lot of really horrible stuff out there, but the noisiest pro-aborts are probably the most suffering and the most grieving people, in my opinion.
Sorry, someone in the chat's just saying that they're getting no audio. Let me just quickly type. I think everyone else is. Okay. Well, I was thinking about, are you the first female? Because I know that there's a guy named Graham Preston.
Yeah.
So you and Graham Preston, are you the first individuals to be convicted under these new stupid laws?
We are. Well, let's see. The ACT law is slightly different, and there were some men convicted under that law. But then they were eventually acquitted because the magistrate in Canberra ruled that prayer is not protest. So technically those men were arrested as well under the law, but that's the only state where the law is a little different. The rest all have the 150 and they're almost identical wording.
Oh, okay. And you are the first female to be trialed under this particular law?
Yes, yeah. There have been a couple of others in Brisbane since me, but yeah, I guess I was the first woman.
Yeah, well, you're the first. Well, that's crazy. Actually, so you're like a pioneer.
Too. Oh, I don't think of it that way.
You're an Australian hero.
No.
Although the left will never recognise you that way, and nor will the media.
No.
But I will.
And I don't. Well, thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Look, it's everybody's got a job to do, and it's not everybody's job to get arrested and go through the legal system and challenge abortion in that way.
Well,
so,
of course.
So it's not really fair if I'm a hero for doing this, but the people I think who are the true heroes are the people who go out there day after day on the street and just pray to end abortion. They're there, rain, hail, or shine, and they get spat on and splashed and sworn at and have death threats and all sorts of terrible things. And they just go back day after day or week after week, and you never hear their name, and I think they're the heroes.
Absolutely. I would completely agree. For the unsung heroes, for the unborn.
Yeah.
Well, what is your opinion of the abortion laws in like New York, where you can abort a child up to the 9th month and even after? Many claim that the after is a myth, that it's not actually true. But,
well, it's the same law as we have in Victoria.
You can't kill a baby after.
Well, who's going to know?
And in the 9th month. Well, yeah, true. Who's going to know? But what kind of an evil doctor is effed up in the head enough to grab a pair of scissors and stab the child in the back of their head and do that?
Yeah, well, they would say that's partial birth abortion. So,
it's evil either way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, what can I say? One thing that does spring to mind that I think we need to be careful of, late-term abortion, it really grabs people's attention because it's so graphic, and we can imagine it's our baby or our niece's, our little niece or nephew, or, we can imagine holding that baby and instead that baby's being killed. But we can't lose sight of the fact that an abortion in the first trimester is just as evil. It's just that you don't see it, you don't, it's kind of hidden. And because the baby's so small, the mum's not showing, the baby's not kicking yet, but it's still an abortion. It's still a fully human person that's being killed. So I always like to bring that to people's attention. We can't think that just because it looks like a cute baby that it's more evil than a first trimester abortion.
Oh, absolutely.
It's more shocking. That's true.
Yeah. Well, did you want to talk a little bit about what happened in your particular circumstance, what you're allowed to say?
Yeah.
Like what was the occurrence, and how did you end up in handcuffs very quickly after? Like, how does it work?
I wasn't handcuffed.
Yeah, well, so I just think of like a movie scene, so
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. So,
They didn't put their hand on my head as we went into the squad car. I was
okay.
that. He did read me my rights, though, which he has to do, of course. It was. I hate to use the word surreal, but it really was a surreal occasion. Sorry if that's a cliche. There's no other word for it. Look, it was really strange. I just went out on the street within the zone. The police had been alerted that there may be a breach of the law that day, so they were on hand with video equipment. In the end, I approached a couple on their way into the abortion mill, and it was a very brief encounter, 30 seconds. And then I was descended on by a whole lot of police. There were police arresting me, detectives around asking questions. And there was like 10 police running around the street doing different things. Like it was in this corner of my eye, it was like a SWAT team running around the place. But it was so weird because obviously I'm no threat to anybody. No pro-lifer, no real pro-lifer is a threat to anybody. The law
is a major threat to everybody.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty scary. Their kind of protest is pretty scary. But our kind of protest is only 1/3 of what we do, and it's more an educational kind of protest. The other third is the spiritual side, and the other third of what we do is offering tangible help to women or being there as an alternative to abortion.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I thought that you might not realize is about the penalty, and I just checked this out before I came on to make sure I had my facts right. So imagine you're a guy and you're taking your girlfriend in for an abortion, and you stop outside the abortion mill and you go, oh, hun, maybe we don't have to go ahead with this abortion. And she's going, oh, yeah, I think we should get rid of it. And he's going, oh, no, come on, I think we can do it. I think we can handle a baby. And she starts crying. And then someone comes out from the abortion mill and they go, hold on, you're harassing that girl. And they call the police and the guy could be charged, right? And that guy, because he was communicating about abortion in a manner that could be seen or heard and was reasonably likely to cause distress, that's the wording of the law, he could be charged and he could be fined maximum of 120 penalty units. That's $19,000 odd, $20,000.
Sweet God, and the women are just stupid enough these days to convict their own boyfriends and stuff like that. I've seen enough stories of women claiming that their men rape them when it's not true. So I can absolutely see that being a possibility.
Okay, well, in my scenario, it was the stuff. But yeah, okay. But let's contrast this, okay? Contrast this with another situation.
Yeah, but she's allowing the stuff to... All right, keep going.
It's hypothetical, dear.
I know, but your hypothetical's making me angry.
Okay, forgive my hypothetical, please. Have mercy on her, please. She needs it. Okay, so there's another hypothetical couple now. And they're walking in, right? They're about to walk into the abortion mill. And she's going, oh, hon, do we have to do this? I really want a baby. I'm kind of bonding with the baby. And he's like, no way, we are not having this baby. And she's like, oh, come on. I think I could even go back and live with my mom. I think it would be all right. And he goes, no, and he pushes her over, and she falls over and she starts crying and the staff come out.
Sure.
That guy, right? That guy can be charged with assault.
Yeah.
His maximum penalty, 25 penalty units, $4,000. Right?
Less.
Yeah, 25 penalty units for assault, even assault of a woman, and compare that with 120 penalty units for my crime of just approaching a couple.
It's insane.
The guy, yeah, or the guy who makes his girlfriend cry because he wants to change his mind about it.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of law that we're dealing with.
Why are we in this place in society, in Australia, in the West, where we're asking the question, is abortion wrong? It's such a stupid phrase. It's the stupidest sentence we need to utter. It's like asking, is murder wrong? That's what it is. And then when you start debating the personhood of or the viability or the soul, or people add all these different things and they go, oh well, it doesn't have a heartbeat until 3 weeks and 1 day. Or it doesn't have brain waves until I think that's 6 weeks, 5 weeks. Doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. It's ridiculous, and it's very easily to convert someone out of it. All you have to do is show them a partial birth abortion on camera. I've done that. I have a friend named Kwaku. My friend Kwaku used to be pro-choice.
Yeah.
Then I showed him a video of abortion. The second he watched it, he said, I'm pro-life. I'm like, no shit. Yeah. You just need to be willing to watch it. It's confronting. It's evil. It hurts your heart. It makes you cry. Upon seeing a partial birth abortion, there's no way on earth anyone could then say that they're pro-choice still. That's ridiculous. And then you have pro-life, you have abortion survivors like Melissa Orr and Gianna Jessen. Gianna, I constantly harass her on Twitter because I really my channel, but she doesn't respond to me. Pretty persistent. Yeah, like it's just ridiculous. I do not understand how it is even a question. I don't understand. It's a life. A mother is willing to rid her body of a little baby. You know, it's just I don't understand why it's a question. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's frustrating. It really is.
It's more than just one action, abortion. It's the whole lifestyle. We want to be promiscuous. We want to be irresponsible in our relationships.
Well, stick a cork in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Look,
it's not that hard to not have sex. I don't understand how weak the human condition is. Are women and men so weak that they can't hold off on sex for a little bit, or that they can't use contraceptive the right way? It's not that hard to not have sex. It really isn't.
Well, I'm divorced. I'm celibate. I mean, it's okay. You can do it. It's not the end of the world.
It's really not.
And there's freedom in it as well. So make the most of that freedom. If you're not.
But is there freedom in it? Because I agree with you, there is. But like the leftist narrative is sex is empowering, you know, and it shouldn't matter who you're having sex with, gay sex or being pansexual or like just any kind of sex, as long as it's consensual and safe.
That's not the
truth.
Matter.
It's empowering.
Yeah, that's a deception. They're leaving out all of the emotional detritus that goes with casual sex. I mean, a long time ago, I had a very different lifestyle. I had an unplanned pregnancy. I was using drugs and I was binge drinking, and I've been through that kind of lifestyle as well.
I've never done that.
Oh,
we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Such a goody two-shoes.
You're my hero.
You did it, and then you decided to keep your baby. Was that your story? Is that part of your?
I was going to become a drug dealer. I was just about to leave my job. I had a job at Channel 7 in Brisbane. And
oh wow!
Yeah,
it's you.
Yeah, I was going to be an audio engineer, but that's back in the day when people would record on tape, you know.
Sure. I'm in my 30s. I totally know what tapes are. I know what cassette tapes are. I know what video cassettes.
My kids said, what do they mean rewind?
Exactly. Anyway. They're like, what does that mean?
Yeah. But that's what my life was. And it was I found out I was pregnant, and I knew what abortion was, and I just couldn't do that. I knew it was killing a baby, and I just felt I had to take responsibility. It was all about responsibility, and I was a really irresponsible person, but still, deep within me, there was this responsibility, a latent responsibility, and
was that baby that you had with the same man that you were with all the other kids that you have?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
sorry.
didn't marry him. No, that's fine. I didn't marry him.
Okay.
I left Brisbane and stopped doing all the stuff I was doing and kind of straightened myself out. And then I got married, and then I had 12 more children.
Oh, okay. So your eldest is a half sibling.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. So you must love being a big brother.
What's that?
You must love being a big brother.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I always dreamed of having big brothers. I've never had one. I think having a big brother is fun. Like a big brother would love to like be protective of his little sisters and little brothers.
Well, she was the girl. She's the girl.
Oh, sorry, she's a girl. Sorry, I didn't know.
Okay.
I don't know why I defaulted to that. It was a boy. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so she's 33. She has 4 children.
Lovely.
If I'd aborted her, that would have been 5 children missing, you know?
Aw.
And however many generations follow on from there. They're all gone when you abort someone.
Absolutely.
Generations and generations.
You know what's funny? I said to her, I forgot her name. I think it's Amber. She's a friend of mine, and she's like a full-on feminist. Like so feminist that she sounds stupid what I'm about to say, but she's such a feminist that she uses, you know, when you get your period, there's a cup. Some women use a cup. I don't know how that works. I've never thought about it, but she uses a cup. Very feministy.
Sounds very messy.
Sorry.
Sounds very messy.
It does, yeah, and kind of gross, but that's fine. Each to their own. Like I don't care that she uses a cup, but that was just using as an example to show how feminist she is, and that's fine. And she loves sex, and she's like all into it and stuff like that. And then she got pregnant with this guy she didn't like particularly much, but they were just you know, sex friends, buddies, and I remember she was talking so casually about it, like that she was considering, you know, aborting, but she wasn't really sure. And then I said, "Oh, you're pregnant?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh," I said, "But you're keeping it?" Like, I asked that. I know you shouldn't ask that, but I did. I said, "You're keeping it?" She goes, "Yeah. We decided to keep it. You know, we're not together or anything like that, but you know, why not?" And like she's just talking about it like she's about to get a live duck or a live chicken, and put it in her backyard. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, well, that's great. And then finally, when I met the baby several months later, the baby was beautiful, half white, half Italian, just gorgeous little girl. And he was so proud of his little girl. He loves her so much. And I said to her something like, oh, Amber, when you think about the baby now that she's in your arms and you're holding her, you love her so much, right? So can you sort of feel really wrong now? You considered even aborting her? She goes, no. What do you mean no? She goes, well, I wouldn't have known any better. She goes, it wouldn't have made a difference back then. I was just like, shit, can't get through to these people. Are you serious? Like that just oh my God, it just confounds the senses how moronic people are. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have any children. I want them. I do. And hopefully one day I'll meet a good guy that'll give them to me. But thank you. Yeah, I want a nice boy, and that's the dream. The dream is to have children. I don't understand what's wrong with that. I don't understand why. So the thing is, do you believe this? That we've been sold a lie. Women have been sold a lie, and that the reason the unborn is considered like throwing away a paper towel is because women think about themselves, and feminism has been married to abortion, and somehow the two are considered one issue. And so because of that, women care more for a career, and babies are just a clump of cells. They're garbage.
Yeah. I've read about women that have had an abortion because they're feminists. They felt obliged to abort if the baby wasn't at a particularly convenient time. But, you know, they regret it as much as anyone else. And with women like your friend.
Yeah, my friend.
Yeah, but.
Just a friend of a friend.
A friend of a friend, yeah. Well, that makes me feel better because I didn't think you'd have a friend like that. But
well, I believe in having all kinds of friends, to be honest, of all ideological leanings. I believe guilt by association shouldn't be a thing either. But she ain't my friend, just to clarify.
Okay. No, there's one other thing that we really need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this is that girl's situation, but there's a factor that we're leaving out of the abortion debate, and we leave out of what's affecting our society.
What's
And
that?
that is sexual abuse.
Oh.
You're right. So we have something like maybe 25% of the population has been sexually abused, whether that's, in childhood. So statistics are saying 25%. And there's a correlation between sexual abuse and abortion. If a girl has been sexually abused, she's more likely to abort.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah, the grief is similar. The grief that goes after sexual abuse and the grief that goes after abortion, and many of the other symptoms of post-abortion syndrome are also symptoms of sexual abuse. So if a woman can't bond with her children, that could be from an abortion or it could be from sexual abuse.
Okay.
So just think, when you meet these women that are really disconnected from their children, feminist, maybe a man abused her as a child and she got her hatred of men from that abuse. That seems really rings true to me. May not be, but it's unnatural for a woman to hate men. It's unnatural, and it's unnatural for a woman.
Pretty natural these days.
Yeah, it does. They have to be taught. They're taught that. But it's unnatural for a woman to not bond somewhat with her child. So if she's so cavalier about this born child she has, acting as if she wouldn't have suffered if she'd killed the child, that makes me think that there could be some underlying psychological problem there, emotional problem there.
So this is where your education comes in handy, because someone like me, who I can acknowledge is pretty hard-headed with this issue, as I said, I'm very hard-line on the abortion issue. I often get called far right and all these stupid things, and I would just admit it if I was. I'd be like, yep, I'm far right. If I really was, I'd just say it. It wouldn't be an issue. With the abortion subject, I probably am far right. That's where I'd say, yep.
I wouldn't, I think when we first really realize what abortion is, we are really hard, because especially if we're someone that would never have one.
I would never have one. Down syndrome, or rape, I would not have one. Ectopic pregnancy, a little different. I can see grey there.
Yeah, well, it's different. It's not an abortion. It's a procedure to save your life that unfortunately takes the life of the child as well. It's not classified as an abortion.
No, Go ahead.
It doesn't. These are things that you do need to be clear on, so that you can have rational debates with people and get your facts right. But the more research you do, the more you'll start to really sympathize with women. Like, I hate abortion. I'm very, very strident about abortion as an abstract thing.
I don't hate women who have abortions. I know women who have had abortions, by the way. I don't hate them. I just hate abortion.
Yeah, I hate it too. I hate it too, and I want it to end. And it can make us angry, and we feel really helpless because we can't do that much about it. I mean, you can help save a baby, or you can hear about this wonderful conversion or turnaround or something, and then there's 20 more women lining up there tomorrow. So
also, I find, and I don't really watch TV anymore. Like, I have a TV room, and I have YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that. I don't watch real television anymore, so I don't really know if what I'm about to say is accurate or not. I don't feel like mainstream media or any channel really talks about abortion. I don't think it's even a subject mentioned in Australia. So it's like up to alternative media like myself and many others to sort of state abortion is wrong. I think I would gladly break the law for abortion. I don't want to, but I'll do it this way. Hopefully, like by talking about it and making people aware. I would go pamphleting, postering, whatever. Do the blimp, do the skywriting, do it. I would go from church to church talking on the pulpit about it. I would happily talk about the issue. I think the people like you who are willing, and Graham Preston, who is a man doing it, because a man's not allowed to talk about the issue because, it's not in his body, okay? But, without the man, you couldn't have made the baby. So, so I think it's really good that you guys have pioneered this this new movement, and one day you'll be like a Rosa Parks for Australia if people have the common sense enough to realize that what you've done is actually heroic and necessary.
Well, thanks. I've got my appeal coming up in February, so there is still some hope that I could be found not guilty. As I said, I'm proud that I've got the conviction, but legally it would be great to be found not guilty. It would really draw attention to the absurdity of the law, and it's a very ambiguous law, very subjective law. So that's still coming up, but you know, I'm by no means a pioneer. There are lots of other people out there who've been arrested. A lot of my friends have been arrested over the years, over the decades. Yeah, so yeah, they're great. We stand on the shoulders of giants. That's literally true in this case.
Where I do agree with leftists is that protesting and picketing and making the mud, like the way it is in TV shows, is that how it used to be done in Australia before these laws were in place? Did people used to sort of make the mother feel shamed by like, I don't know, do you know what I mean? Like, how was it done?
Well, I don't know. And the people I know, I don't think they did that. The people I know didn't. So I guess it must happen somewhere. That and I have seen footage. There's footage around of someone calling the staff, abortion mill staff, murderer. That was fairly recent from Brisbane. I think that's very unfortunate. I would never say that, and my friends and colleagues just wouldn't say that. It's not helpful at all. So there are different ways of doing it. I think that there are different locations where protests happen as well. So the way that you act right outside an abortion mill is quite different from the way that you might act outside Parliament or outside a politician's office or something like that. Always within the law, but I mean, you can have signs and you can have slogans and so on outside a politician's office. You need that to draw attention to what's happening there. But outside the abortion mill, it's really, you want to reach that mother. You just want to reach her. Because deep down she knows she's doing the wrong thing. So it's waking up her conscience. And
how many, before these laws were in place, how many babies would you say you were saving? Not you personally, but like maybe your organization or whatever it is.
The helpers have saved, and the group that went before them have saved about 300 in Melbourne in the last 20 years.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, sure. It's so many. In Sydney, it's about 500. In Perth, it's a couple of dozen. They haven't been going so long. In Albury, it's another dozen, and they're the ones that I know about. So it happens wherever there's a peaceful, prayerful witness, babies are saved. That's what happens.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I used to, my channel at the very start, when I started seeping into politics, a lot of it was abortion. Like most of my first videos are abortion. But I started thinking I can't keep talking about abortion. I'm a layered person and there's so much more that I want to talk about. But this lady that I used to speak to, she works for the Human Coalition in the United States, and her name is Lauren Enriquez. And her company has saved over 3,000 babies in the US. And I was like, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't understand how that's a negative to a leftist. How is it a negative?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I often ask them that on social media. I keep saying, if they say that we're harassing, intimidating, all that stuff, I say, why do they change their minds? Why do they accept help? And they can never answer that. And so they're almost simultaneously saying, trust women to make their own decision, trust women, but they're also trying to kind of saying, oh, some women are really dumb and they'll change their minds. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's not consistent.
But they're not consistent.
No.
And what is your hope for the future regarding abortion in Australia?
Things. Well, I think that the groups that are trying to educate young people, high school students, I think that's a really good time to get to young people before they're sexually active let them know what abortion is, let them really be thinking about what kind of relationships they want to engage in, and at the same time promoting marriage as a great vocation, as their ultimate sexual relationship or their only sexual relationship that's going to work. And building up families then. And so I would like to see everything that's going to lessen people's reasons for wanting an abortion. That's our greatest hope at the moment. I don't think we're going to get very far with turning back abortion laws because, as I said, we've got this momentum in Australia. It's different from what's happening in the States. They're on the way up again, we're on the way down, and we've got this weight against us. And plus, we're less of a Christian country anyway than America ever was. So we just kind of have to deal with abortion being a thing at the moment and just accept that the laws are probably going to keep expanding. Exclusion zone laws definitely will keep expanding. What can we do to educate people about the reality of abortion, offer them alternatives, teach about marriage, chastity, try to be pushing for economic policies that support families, try to turn around the selfish culture, get away from this idea that we're just here for a short time on earth to have a good time. I mean, it's a huge deception. So we really have evangelization to do as well.
That's next. That will be what's next. Israel Folau can't even put up a Bible verse without getting demonized. It's like doing
his own followers, people that chose to follow him on Instagram, people that made their own decision that they wanted to hear what he had to say. He wasn't even preaching to people just in the media or anything, or, in public. It was to people who followed him. So it's outrageous that he would be censored for that and lose his job. I mean, it's outrageous.
It's so stupid. And what's next? Evangelizing will be illegal in Australia in the next 10 years, perhaps.
Yeah.
Unless, well, I'm hoping I'm wrong, unless like there's a resurgence in Christianity and conservatives and Christians fight, and we don't enough.
We don't enough. We've mixed up do not judge, and we've mixed up turning the other cheek, and we've taken the wrong interpretation of both of those. But hey, if evangelization is outlawed, that's another place I'd break the law. No one can stop us from doing that.
I would absolutely break the law if it meant evangelizing. Absolutely. Well, when I first met you, we were at a Rod Dreher event, and he said that it will either get worse or there could be a resurgence where Christianity is brought back. Every single century that has existed, Christianity is demonized, and it flourishes again. I don't know where we are in that space. People always say we're in the end times, but that might not be accurate. People who say that have been saying that since the 1800s. And it could very well be that there'll be a resurgence again and Christianity could make a comeback again and babies won't be aborted and there'll be artificial wombs, and then mothers that don't want their babies can put their babies in these artificial wombs, and then those babies will survive. And I don't know, like, we don't know what the future holds. All we can do is fight for it, pray for it, and hoping that pioneers like you continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, we have to do what we do no matter what the times are. So we can speculate about what's happening, and I've got pretty strong ideas about what I think's happening, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We've got our job to do each day, and that's not really going to change much depending on what era we live in. We've got to be holy people. We've got to have faith. We've got to be joyful. We've got to try and share the gospel lovingly to people, show mercy. These are things that never change.
Exactly. There's a way to share the gospel and there's a wrong way to share the gospel. I learned that recently. That's very true. We all make mistakes, and what you did was not a mistake. What you did was fantastic. And so I think sorry?
I make plenty of mistakes, don't worry.
Fair enough. But I think what I mentioned before about the pamphleting was a subpar good idea, but what you said about going into high schools, it's fantastic. Are you going to start an organization? Are you thinking about trying to do a program where you can have someone do a talk to different kids in schools and talk about the family and being pro-life and the consequences of getting pregnant?
I'm not. That already exists. There's
But
yeah.
really?
It's doing better in Sydney. The Culture Project is doing that, and I'm sure there are many other projects as well where people already do that. I don't really want to start something new. I think we just have to really seek out the organizations that are working now, because something that I've noticed, I don't know if it's the same in other kind of human rights issues, but with abortion, there's this kind of a shiny object syndrome where someone comes along and they've got pink hair and they've got tattoos, and suddenly everybody's going to, everybody's like, oh, they're so pro-life. Oh, look at this person, all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, there be these other people, and sure, they might be older and more conservative, but they've been doing this for decades and they know their stuff. Go to the people who've been doing it for a long time. I don't mean me. I mean people that mentor me. Go to those people, because they've seen all the waves of politics, the ups and downs. They've seen that some laws don't work. Don't put your energy into certain laws just because they're a pro-life law. There might be some problem with it. Go to these people who've seen it all. They probably were arrested back in the day. Go and talk to them. Find out about what organizations already exist. Find out about the pregnancy support centers that exist. Only start something. We should only start something if there's a glaring need for it that's not being met by other groups. So if there's none of this kind of education in Victoria, for example, there's a good reason for that, and it's because of Dan Andrews and his Safe Schools agenda. So the schools may not be open to having chastity speakers in there. Even many of the Christian schools won't. So that's the kind of nous that you need.
We didn't get it. I graduated from high school quite some time ago.
Yeah.
In the late 2000s. And I remember sex ed. I remember being taught about gonorrhea and chlamydia, and getting pregnant. But they don't touch on abortion, or they didn't with me. They don't touch on how to get pregnant either, like how hard it is, and what happens to a woman's body. Even that's not explained. And so that obviously that was over 10 years ago. But I don't know whether the school that I go to does that. Like I think it's imperative that kids learn about if we're learning about transgenderism and gender neutral pronouns and all of that stuff. If that's stuff that the state insists we learn, they should also insist on an alternative ideology, and abstinence and chastity. They should teach that a baby is a life inside you, that a baby is a point of conception, because that's what science actually teaches, despite what the left science deniers try to block. So I don't know what's happening in my own state. I don't know. I would like to know. It'd be really interesting to get that insight from a student.
Yeah, look,
you have kids.
It comes down to the individual schools and the principals and what they'll allow in the school. But parents have a responsibility as well. Parents need to be teaching their kids this stuff. They can't leave it all up to the school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the daddy state government crap. I don't believe in that at all. But that's sort of where we're headed. We're headed to that point in society where we're relying on the state to teach us morality, to teach us about transgenderism. But the thing is, I learned about transgenderism. I learned about gay people. I learned about all this stuff, and I didn't need the school to teach me. Like, you just figure it out. Like, you don't need to be taught to treat people. Well, you do need to be taught to treat people with respect. It's your parents that should be teaching that. I agree with you.
Yeah, but that's another huge problem, is parents not being engaged in their children's lives. What's happening with the parents that they're leaving everything up to the school? Parents need to be really vigilant. They can't trust their schools to be teaching their kids the right stuff. So I would urge all parents to find out what their kids are being taught at school. I've heard about from other parents online, they've sent me stuff that their kids are being taught at school. That's how they find out about the safe schools type stuff. And one mum messaged me with some stuff. She's from Perth, and her child was at a Catholic school. And, and she found all this really crazy stuff that he was being taught. And when the mum took it to the school principal didn't know, genuinely didn't know, no. So the school had outsourced their curricula to this other group who put together some ebooks, and they were using the same kind of safe schools materials with the same links to -18 and all that stuff we've heard about, even from Perth, using the same online resources. So they shut it down as soon as the principal knew. But I mean, the parents didn't know, the principal didn't know, I guess the teacher didn't know until she was going to open the book what was going to be in it. But none of us can afford to not be vigilant about these things. I mean,
it's a parent's job.
It is, but at another thing that's going to make that more difficult is in Victoria, there are now school nurses and doctors who can prescribe the morning after pill, take children for abortions, and the parents don't have to be told about it.
This is sick.
Yeah, it is sick. So parents need to be having these conversations with their kids.
I don't understand. Sorry, I'm having an emotional reaction here. I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I was raised in a time, I found out about oral sex and sex when I was 11, 12. And I remember thinking, what? That's insane. I was pretty sheltered. My parents did a very good job sheltering me from all of these ideological assaults. And I didn't learn a lot of this stuff till really late in life as well. Like, a lot of these things, I didn't know what they were, probably partly because of my very Christian upbringing. But I don't get how it's okay for a school to hide and to give a child the morning after pill. I don't get that. I don't understand why it's like kissing a kid on the cheek is akin now to oral sex. It's nothing. And it's uncool to be a virgin. You know, you're uncool if you're a virgin. You're cool if you have sex and if you've experienced some sort of. I don't get why we're there. Why is sex so important? I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand it. And I just think about my little ones in my family, and it could make me cry. If I let myself cry right now, I would. It's just upsetting. I don't understand. I don't get it.
They're getting it from everywhere.
It's ridiculous.
Music videos, children's clothes. You go to the grocery store and what kind of music's in the background? Pop music about people having sex, hooking up, having sex.
Yeah, the DJ play that song so we can have sex and have fun. And
yeah, it's like, hold on, I'm 50 years old. I'm just trying to buy some milk. I don't want to hear all this stuff. So, yeah, it drives me crazy too. But we just have to take care of our kids if we can, and keep as many influences away from them.
Maybe we should homeschool our children.
I do homeschool my children.
Oh, well, there you go. You're a good parent.
Except for a couple of years, I have homeschooled for 20 years or more than 20 years.
That's crazy. That's good. Well done. I think that's key now, because look, I was raised knowing right and wrong, and obviously I make mistakes. I've stuffed up. I was raised knowing right and wrong, especially in terms of sex. I definitely knew right and wrong regarding sex. It didn't matter what music was being played. It didn't matter that I loved watching Britney Spears and Jennifer Lopez. I understood that was just entertainment. I never participated in that as an extracurricular activity. So why can't I don't know. I just don't understand. I'm just perplexed by the state of things in Australia and how bad it is.
Did your mum work, dear? Was your mum home when you got home from school and
yes,
home a lot? Yeah.
She worked here and there. She's a cleaner. That's all Colombians are really good for. No, I'm kidding.
I didn't say that. No, well, look.
I'm joking about my own race, so no one get offended on anyone, please, because I'm kidding about my own people. Anyone watching, don't get offended. It was a joke.
I was going to say that could be the key. Your mum was there. Your mum was there. She was present. She was engaged with you, and I think that can make a huge difference.
And I went to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's yeah, you're right. Like, and I'm not saying you need to go to church to be sexually chaste. Is that the word?
Okay.
Like, an atheist has morals. I would never say otherwise. But how are we? Yeah. How do you? So what is the future? Like, what is the future for you? So you're going to try and overturn this conviction, correct?
Yeah, I can't do anything about the law now. We can't because it's been to the High Court.
Okay.
But I do have just one more chance in the Supreme Court to appeal my conviction. But apart from that, the main thing that I do is my website. That's where I put all my energy. That's not taken up with my kids. So I've got a lot of
Happy to help you there.
Yeah, thank you. So a lot of articles on abortion, but also freedom of speech, religious freedom, and other things that are of importance to Christians. That was always going to be my main contribution before I got involved with the law. And I'm back to that being my main contribution. So like my page, like my Facebook page, sign up for my
I've added them to the description box below. I think I have. Let me just double check. I hope I have, because I do it for most of my guests. I always pop their information below. Yes, I have. I put your Twitter there and your Facebook page there. Yep, Freedom Oz, right?
Freedom's Progress.
Oh, I did the wrong one.
And my handle's Freedom's Oz, yeah.
Okay, good. Well then, you're there. That's good. Well, we've done the full hour. Is there anything else you want to say? I hope I didn't interrupt you too much. I'm sorry. It's just it's a subject that really.
I really enjoyed it. I was just a little bit amused because you were trying not to be too controversial and we ended up talking about sex a lot, but I guess that's okay.
Well, sex is important to talk about.
What to do with abortion, so.
Well, it relates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I wasn't just going to talk about like the conviction. I wanted to get into the nitty gritty of the subject. And actually, you know who Marzena is? Marzena?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Marzena.
Yeah.
Marzena, yeah.
Safe Schools stuff. Yeah, so I have her coming on my channel at some point. So that'll be good to talk to her. And she was like you. She's nervous. She's like, I don't live. Like, suck it up. You did well.
Thank you. It was very enjoyable.
I told you it would just end up being like a normal conversation, right? I'm not intimidating. I'm very nice, aren't I?
I know. I wasn't worried about you.
Oh, okay. Well, you did really well. Don't be nervous. You did really, really well. And I'll probably see you at some event at some point anyway, because it seems like we run all in the same circles.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you going to that event tomorrow? I'm not going to say what it is, but are you going to that event tomorrow? An event tomorrow. Do you know what I'm talking about? You don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. No.
I'll tell you offline. All right. Well, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in and for watching this stream with a very special guest. I think Kathy Clubb is someone worth admiring. She's an Australian pioneer. She's important to the Christian conversation, the free speech conversation in this country, and also a good example of what laws are really worth breaking, and not that it's something that we encourage anyone to do. It really goes to show.
You didn't hear that from me.
No, exactly. No, not at all. But what I mean is, these are man-made laws that don't actually align at all with true morality. It's more my point. And sometimes these things, sometimes you need to sit at the front of the bus to make the point. Good analogy there, right?
Yeah, well said.
All right. Is there anything you want to say before I take it off live?
No, I think we've said enough, dear.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take it off live. And guys, please go to her Twitter handle and add her there, and also go to her Facebook page. It's all in the description box below.
You're coming in now. Okay.
Okay. So,
It's nearly over. So, are you almost over?
But it's over now. Hang on. I'll chat to you guys in a sec.